Hi, I'm Jennet Ingle, the 5-Minute Reedmaker. Listen, if you're watching me on YouTube, go ahead and click subscribe and click the little notify bell and maybe hit me with a comment so that I know who you are. It'll be great to connect. I did a Facebook Live recently where I talked about the difference in length between the lower blade and the upper blade of the reed. In fact, this was a response to a video I had put out even a few weeks before that on the same topic, which I got sort of a surprising amount of pushback from. So I had not realized that the concept of shortening the lower blade slightly was a controversial one. And so I wanted to go live and just chat with some people about it and describe my thinking. So I hope you enjoy this and I hope you find it helpful. My basic premise that the lower blade of the reed is a little bit shorter than the upper blade of the reed felt very commonsensical to me, but I did get some pushback, so I did some experiments and I thought about it a little bit. And here's where I'm at. I believe that we do not play the oboe sticking straight out of our mouths like this. Rather, of course, we play the oboe angled downward to one extent or another. And so therefore, I feel like if I have two blades that are slightly differently lengthed, and if I have them in my mouth like this, my upper blade, my longer blade, is going to sort of gently collect my air and help to funnel it down the oboe. Whereas if I've got it reversed, like so, with the longer blade towards me, I believe that is going to shove the air away, to resist the air, to not welcome it into the oboe. And so that's the way I've always made my reeds. And here is an example of a reed like that. It's my normal reed. I played a recital on it yesterday. It's definitely shorter here on the lower blade, a little tiny bit. And indeed, if I turn it over and make it upside down so that the longer blade is toward me, the result that I get is this. It's immediately shallower, it's immediately sharper, and it doesn't articulate as cleanly. I really have a hard time playing on this compared to this blade. So, in other words, if you are going to have your blades be slightly different lengths, obviously the lower blade is going to be the shorter one. But because some people were like, wait, why would you have a blade be shorter at all? I made a few reeds that do not have this characteristic, where the blades are actually cut as equally as I could possibly make them. Here's one of those. I just made it just now. And the blades are, like I said, as close to perfect as I can make them. I know there are guillotines out there that can clip the blades perfectly symmetrically every single time, but I don't have one because I cannot be bothered. But on my cutting block, this is as even as I could get. And it's fine. And the nice thing is if I turn it over, it's the same. And so I can see how, if your habit is to cut the blades the exact same length, you wouldn't imagine why I would want to cut one less. But here's the problem with this reed. It really feels up to me. It feels a little shallow. It's almost a little bit too alarmingly easy to open, to articulate. So it just happens so fast and so startlingly in my mouth that I don't like it. And of course, right, I like it how I like it because that's the way I've been playing it forever. But here's my own reed again. For me, there's just a little bit more protection and a little bit more cushion in the articulation. So if I take this reed, the one that I was just demonstrating on, the one that has the two blades of perfectly equal length, and if I clip that reed again to where the blades are different lengths, I think that it's going to dull that rapid response just a little bit. I think it's going to darken the sound just a little bit, and I think it's going to make me happier. So I'm going to try that right now. You can't see me. I will change this camera around and have you watch me do that if you'd like, but I don't think you need that. Amy says, this makes sense because clarinet and saxophone reeds work like this. Really? With the one blade just a little bit shorter? I didn't know that. Sorry, I know it's just one blade, but with the tip of the reed sitting just a little south of the tip of the mouthpiece. Is that what you're saying? Because I genuinely didn't know that, but I like it if it's true. Okay, so here's this reed that I've just clipped. And I know it was a little bit like crazy before because it was a little bit of a low pro. So hopefully... For me, immediately this deepened the sound just a little bit. And if I turn it over, of course I expect to get that shallowness again. Anish has a comment, which is, my teacher said the other day that sometimes a nice way to get a reed to feel more open and easy to blow through without it having to be open necessarily is to clip it a little unequally. So is your norm, Anish, or your teacher's norm to clip perfectly equally? Because that's fair, right? Everyone can do it their way. I guess I just wanted to get on and explain more about my viewpoint and point out that there are benefits and lack of benefits and detriments to both ways of doing this. Amy says, yes, every time she's played sax, she sets the reed just slightly lower than the tip of the mouthpiece. And I think of the saxophone as a thing that comes like fairly directly out of your mouth, but I'm sure that there is a nuance to that, right? Just like there is on the oboe. We play it out, but we play it downward a little bit. And so it's the same concept, right? You're allowing the reed, or the mouthpiece, to welcome the air in. Amy says we're talking fractions of millimeters, and that is absolutely correct. The reason that I clip my reed always with the shorter blade lined up with the crossover of the thread is that I cannot be bothered to look at it every time and like squint at it and hold it against my finger and against the light and like try to find it up here. I can't do it. I'm not in a hurry and not in some stage lighting and not as I get older and older. So yes, I have the crossover side be my lower blade as a helpful tactile hint, so I can just feel that this is the side with the crossover, therefore this is the side that goes to my mouth. I get an immediate difference when I do that slightly unequal clip, and that is why I use it, and that is why I recommend it. As I looked at these reeds and as I prepped them, I was also very conscious of making sure that the measurements, the heart, the tip, the bottom of the heart, approximately the end of the windows, although I'm not very fussy about those, that those were all sitting at exactly the same place. And that's, to me, completely fine and completely normal. Somebody on my other video was giving me some pushback about making these be asymmetrical. And yeah, I agree with that. Basically, you want them to be the same. But sometimes you will find that as you're scraping, your rooftop heights get just a little different from each other, just the littlest bit. And rather than always fixing them to be perfectly symmetrical, I just want to make sure that the one that is shorter is the one that is on the shorter blade. So that everything on the lower blade here comes out less long, less resisting my air. I want it all to be welcomed in. So that is basically my point here. I wanted to acknowledge the people that said that the length of the tips should be perfectly equal. Yes, that totally works. And I could take a reed that has maybe a dull or a thuddy articulation, and I could scrape it a little bit so that it crows low, and then rebalance it by clipping and make sure that that clip is perfectly equal. And I bet that that would inspire the articulation to be easier if I needed that. But for now, I'm going to keep doing the thing that I've been doing, which is clipping them slightly unequally because I get a better sound and, to me, a more comfortable resistance and a little bit more of a safety factor. So that as I tongue, the reed does what I expect it to do rather than going, ah! And over vibrating. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great